Yeah, but we got a cute one right over. Did you go for coffee yet? No. That donkey, that's a tiny village.
Yeah, we gotta work out something for us.
Matt's so sick.
I'm aware.
Get online, and 15 minutes later.
Did he talk to everybody? Like, when to use it? You guys are big needs, did he give it time?
Yeah.
Let me know what it is, I'll be glad to come over and press on that.
Yeah, it's
Learn here. Those are
by
all
the-
career and use that. But when they say it, it's bad.
It took me years, but I finally learned
People
it.
are disregarding a whole bunch of safety rules.
Welcome. The polls are now closed. Good news for some, not so good for others. But it's good news for us. We can finally get this council meeting going. As soon as I get it from page 68 to 61. There we are. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. The time is now 7:01 p.m. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Williston City Council. Mrs. Wright, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Yes, sir, but before I do, could you check your mic, please?
Aaron's got to stand up.
It's turned on. I can't see it while ago.
They have bad batteries, possibly.
All right.
Go
Got
ahead.
a little green light. It's me.
Carry on, go ahead.
Mayor Robinson,
Here.
President Goodman,
I am here, but
We have a link to a YouTube channel that the council doesn't exist.
Vice President Head,
Here.
Councilmember Jones. Here. Councilmember Robinson. Councilmember Ross,
Here.
Interim City Manager Dennis Stroh,
Here.
City Attorney Greg Coberlin,
Here.
and City Clerk Latricia Wright here.
Test 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Mrs. Wright. Item number 1, opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. We will now be led by the mayor.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you have given us. Lord, we pray that you would spread your healing hands over this country and rid us of this virus that encompasses the country today. Lord, we pray that you would also spread your hands across this country and in the turmoil and strife that we have today also, Lord. Be with our first responders in the performance of their duty and keep them safe. We ask that you would be with the council tonight, Lord, as they make the decisions and make the right decisions for this city. For in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Item number 1 on our agenda tonight is additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda by the council? Are there any deletions or changes? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Have a motion by Vice President Head and seconded by Councilor Robinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show that the agenda is approved by all council members present. Item number 2, public participation. This is the public's first time opportunity. There will be another one later in the meeting to address the council about anything that you would like to address. We would like to remind you that for public participation, we have a time limit of 5 minutes. Is there anybody at this time that would like to address the council about anything? He started first, sir. Go to the microphone very loudly. Make sure that your name is on the record, sir.
My name is Albert Fuller. Is this on?
Try it now.
Okay, my name is Albert Fuller,
Yes, it's on.
and we'd just like to come here as members of the Wilson Area Community Resource Organization to thank the people, the council, for what they have done and what they continue to do to get our community garden started. And personally, I'd like to thank Deborah Jones for kind of spearheading that effort. But likewise, I want to recognize CJ certainly for his generous, I guess, work to get a donation toward the valve for the community garden, because it didn't seem like we were going to get enough money otherwise. So we did want to make sure that we did recognize that. And CJ, you may want to tell exactly how that was done if you got a few seconds.
Well, after the meeting, we contacted one of our suppliers, one of our vendors that we buy a lot of our water equipment materials from. And coincidentally, they had a meter that was used as a demo for another municipality, and the manufacturer did not want that meter back. So when I contacted Sun State Meter Supply, they graciously agreed to donate that to the community garden. And we should have the rest of that material in by the end of this week, and we'll begin the install either the end of this week or the first part of next week.
That's, everyone's been generous, and we do appreciate it, and we want to forge ahead and make sure that it is a good addition to the community.
One other thing, and I want to thank all of you all, and the ones that...
State your name for the record.
Bernard. I'm the president of the organization. And I want to thank all of the ones that come forward and said they'll be willing to help with the community garden. And we'll be calling on you. Like I say, this fall, we're probably going to do a little stuff. But spring will really be the big kickoff. But this fall, we do plan on doing something with something like winter greens and whatever. Maybe 4 or 5 rows of peas if I get out there, which I am going to do it next week. But I certainly want to thank you, and your effort won't be in vain. I just want to thank you. We appreciate it. And we'll send a letter to the council from the group thanking you for the record. And we'll also be sending a letter to Sun State for their donation. And we thank you all kindly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just one other thing, we do want to make sure that the community garden is advertised, because when we start in the spring, we do want as many participants, particularly children, as we can to assist with the garden effort. So anything you all could do to publicize that, we would appreciate it.
Albert, if you will, if you'll give me 30 seconds, would you tell them what you've done on the other continents? Tell them about your expertise and what you did over there.
Oh, well, what I'm doing presently, or that's actually been hindered just a bit,
I'm sure.
is I was in Europe just before the pandemic hit, actually working with the Catholic Church to raise money for a project that we were doing in Africa. And in Africa, what we're doing is trying to both train the people in Kenya in how to do certain agricultural operations. But in addition to that, we want to put in a well. What we saw in Kenya was young people, well, there are some schools that are supported by the wealthy, and then there are other schools that are not supported at all, except by people like the Catholic Church. And that school, whenever there's no rain, there's no water, there's no school. And other times they're out and, believe it or not, sifting water out of mud just to be able to go to school or survive or whatever. And so we're looking to put in a well there at the school that can be used by the community as well. And so I was raising money in Europe, primarily Germany, Amsterdam, or the Netherlands and the like. And then we're going to do some training in leadership development and team building and those kinds of things, just to get that, just to make sure that what the work we do goes on after we leave.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, sir, and the best of luck to you. Item 3, consent agenda.
Don't forget this gentleman.
I'm so sorry.
Good evening, my name is Thomas Peterson. Moved here 3 years ago. It's a beautiful town you all have, and my wife and I plan on staying here probably until we pass. And on that note, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring this back up, because I know you've already voted on it, but, no offense, Mr. Stigall, but I would like to know if there is any way to submit another proposal for the restructuring of the airport.
Say that again.
I would like to know if there's another way for me to submit another restructuring for the staffing at the airport. And I think it might be able to help them out even more. Basically from the outside in, you get another opinion. And that's, I'm not saying stop what you're doing or anything like that. I would just like to be able to give you all something to look at, not better, I apologize, but something different that might be able to add it to his proposal to maybe even, broaden some stuff out, like getting help from other departments, or I retired 2 years ago from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. That was 20 years. One of the things that we did is we also, our camp inmates did work for the cities. I'm not saying it's free labor, but it's a lot cheaper than part-time labor, because you're not having to pay for anything that is any benefits or anything down the road, and they make a couple bucks an hour compared to $10 to $15 an hour, and you're not using up all their resources out there to where he could go ahead and replace the lights, like he said, and do maintenance. Or you could turn around and use those inmates that are getting ready to get out. The ones you're not going to have a problem with are going to be the ones that have like six months or less, because they're getting ready to go home. But one of the things that we did is to not create recidivism or have them come back to the system, is you gave them a job. You gave them something to learn from. And if you do a basic program to where if he's had the time to do it or whatever, he could set up a program to where they could learn general maintenance at an airport, which might not, it's not going to certify him, but it's going to give them that much more of an edge over somebody else. So instead of going out and thinking they're going to go out and sell drugs or whatever, they have an opportunity to get a decent job, which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants a decent job. Everybody wants a job to where they can retire and get a retirement and everything else. But the point is that from my aspect, because I don't think he's ever thought about that, is from getting another view from the outside in might be able to get him even more help than what what he's asking for right now. And that's all I'm asking. The one thing I do have an issue with is the reason why it's taken me so long to come up here and ask this is because of the fact that after he did his proposal, I started thinking about some of the things that he said, and I started getting on the computer. And the problem is that there's no information from him to help me out. And what I'm saying is when I look up the fiscal year's budget for 2020, it's not even on the computer, but it's 2019. And so it's hard for me to look at the staffing reports and the positions and stuff like that to try to help him maybe get a permanent body instead of getting two more part-timers, maybe set up a program to have somebody come in and help, you know, train the inmates to do that, supervise, to do the general maintenance around the area. That's gonna create a lot more money. Set up a program for the inmates to have something to look forward to when they get out. And then at the same time, it's gonna be able to free him up to do what he was saying, do what he wanted to do, was to be able to get everything that he needed to get done paperwork-wise and administrative. So, but getting back to what I was getting at, I apologize, is I couldn't get that general information on the computer. So when I went to the Williston website, and you click under, the departments. And I'm not trying to throw anybody out there, but for instance, finance. You click under finance, it's got the 2018-19 fiscal budget sitting there when it says it's the most current. You have below that where it shows that you have the accounting audit. Well, that's from 2017. So the information that I could basically use to try to help them out, I can't even get that. I have sent emails out, and I haven't gotten a response back, and that's been a week or two. And I haven't gotten anything. HR, yes, HR has helped me out quite a bit. At least first I didn't get upset, but at least I got a response back from them saying, hey, look, we got your email, we're working on it. And I was happy. And then the day I was ready to send a reply back saying, okay, it's been a week. She sent me back all the answers. And she's like, I'm sorry it took so long, but we had to, you know, look these things up. And I understand they're very busy in HR for short-staffed and everybody's short-staffed. But I haven't heard from anybody else. And that's the first.
Who did you send emails to? Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. There's no way for me to, Ms. Worm. There's no, I don't know how to get a hold of her. To go to your website, I can't get a hold of her.
On the phone. You can start with the phone, she'll give you her email.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure our emails are online.
Yeah.
Yours are, yes.
Yeah.
Theirs aren't.
Well.
Yours are, but I don't want to go to you before I go to them. Because if I go to them.
Start with him.
With who?
Mr. Stiegel.
We spoke on the phone.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a real brief conversation, but the thing is what I was trying to get at is the things that I need, I haven't gotten to him yet.
And we have had prisoners who worked at our airport before.
Okay.
They're not there now, and they haven't been there in the last year or so. But we have had inmates who did maintenance at the airport.
Right.
In years past.
Okay. So, I guess my question is, why not bring them back? I understand the pandemic, but in actuality, the pandemic is the perfect time for them to come out and work because they're outside.
They
won't let 'em.
they will not let them out. We've not been able to have inmate laborers since March.
They won't let them out
No
anyway in the
place.
whole county.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
No place.
No, I'm not gonna even discuss that part then.
Yeah.
But that's something that we could look at, or
It's
that
something that
people
we
down
will
the
look
road. You know, bring those programs back.
Okay.
So, you know, that's the kind of thing I wanted to look into, but the problem is, I don't have the information. So I guess what I'm gonna ask for is, if you let me do it, don't let what he's proposed do anything, because if you let me do it, I'm gonna basically talk with him
Yeah.
to help him to rewrite another one for him, and then give him all the input. If that's what he wants to do. If he does
If that's what he wants. He
I'm
is the
trying to say
airport
he's the
manager.
boss.
If he wants to tell me to kick rocks, I'll kick rocks. Okay?
Exactly.
But, and I'm not doing this to embarrass you or diminish anybody. Some people are very protective of their area. And I'm new here and I don't know, you know, you guys don't know me from anybody. And
I will say too, we've had a change in city clerk.
Right.
And a lot of stuff's not online that needs to be online, but a
Right.
phone call to City Hall will get you what you need.
Well,
Or to one of,
Or to our website.
yeah, or to one of us, we can actually send it to you, because we've got it. in
I'm trying not to go
electronic.
past my 5 minutes, like I pretty much have, but I'm gonna
Mrs. Wright is keeping track of that, right, Mrs. Wright?
Okay.
So, if I can interject a second with the website,
Yes, sir.
we're having a problem. Several months ago, basically, we almost had to shut down the website because a rash of lawsuits said that the government websites were not ADA compliant. So, we're trying to rebuild the system and bring it back where it is ADA compliant, because it was a hotbed of legality.
Oh, I can see a hotbed in there.
So, that's why a lot of the stuff is not current.
That's fair enough,
So-
because I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but
If you have any specific requests, contact Patricia Wright, our city clerk. She's the public records guru,
Mhm.
and she'll get you what you need.
see, I'd like to, okay. With
I
Ms. Wright.
can send you her
Okay.
email.
Okay.
I'm HR, so I can send you her email.
I just sent you another one today, you probably didn't tell me no, but I understand. But again, I have another one, but I'll wait until the nukes, I don't wanna take up all your time, but it has to do with what you just said about redoing the website.
Was that beat from you? No?
So that's what I'm asking for,
All right.
and be able to have access to that information, and I can have that to you, if I give you information this week, I'll have it ready for you by the next meeting.
Okay, thank you,
I'm retired, I have nothing to do, so.
Okay.
Sir, if you see me tonight,
Yes, ma'am.
before you leave,
I will, thank you.
Is there anybody else? Aaron, is there anybody online?
Anyone online like to speak?
I can't hear. Oh,
I'm asking
he's
them.
asking.
Nope.
okay. Then we will move forward to item 3. Consent agenda. It's going to be a rather extensive reading. It consists of the minutes of the August 4th, 2020 regular council meeting. Item B is Resolution 2020-42, ratifying the mayor's extension of the state of emergency arising from the COVID-19 public health emergency. Item C, Resolution 2020-44, resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, amending the Human Resource Manual, specifically Section 23, sick leave, bank, subsection 23.4, withdrawal of sick leave days to include language establishing rules for eligibility to use the sick leave bank and providing an effective date. Item D, Resolution 2020-38, a resolution approving the lease term extension between Tom Sumter and Sherry Sumter and the City of Williston for property at the airport and identified as Hardstand 16, authorizing the City Council President to execute the extension and approving an effective date. Item E, Resolution 2020-39, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the assignment and assumption of lease agreement between Tom Sumter and Sherry Sumter and Shadow Trailers, LLC, authorizing the City Council President to execute the instrument and providing an effective date. Item F, Resolution 2020-40, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the lease term extension request of Tom Sumter and Sherry Sumter for property identified as Hardstand 5 at the Williston Municipal Airport, authorizing the City Council President to execute the instrument and providing an effective date. Do I have a motion to the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Councilor Jones to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Jones. I have a second by Councilor Ross. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show that all 5 members of the council have approved the consent agenda as is presented. Item number 4, old business, staff and board and councilor updates. City Manager Dennis Stroh is up first.
Interim city manager.
I'm sorry, sir.
Interim.
Thank you. Yes.
Most of you, I think, have tried to keep aware of what's going on. We have started, probably the last 3 weeks, in the beginning of the work day, all city employees temperature scanned and make sure that we don't have a problem. I think we've had one that we referred to the doctor. CJ had the air conditioning people back in this week, so there's still a work in progress. And basically, that's the only thing I've got going right now. Any other thing we'll talk about at the end of the meeting.
Did your air conditioner get replaced?
No.
Is it operating?
I heard it was cooler over there.
It's operating at this point. We had another one go down.
Oh, shit.
So,
What brand of air conditioners were put in City Hall?
York.
Who?
York,
York.
I just want to know what brand not to buy.
exactly. And I've informed them on multiple occasions that I would not recommend them to anybody. We do have a meeting with Ulrich and Comfort Temp tomorrow. They were gonna come and go through all of the systems because we found some stuff up in the ceiling on the units that are really poor workmanship, to say the least. So
Who in Ulrich is coming? Do you know?
Lauren? No?
Ian will be here, who is was the superintendent that finished out the job. Lourdes will be here, and she's a step above him. At this point, I don't know if Ivan is going to be here himself, but I requested that he was.
I knew you had requested, that's why that's the question.
Yes, I had not heard from him. They just, Lourdes called me yesterday and stated that they would be here for the meeting, and did not reply as to who would be here.
What time is that meeting? Do you have a time set?
I will have to look. I believe it is at 8:30.
In the morning?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
and I'll confirm that and get back with you.
Anybody else have any questions? In staff and board updates, the next thing is code enforcement liens update by city planner Jackie Gorman.
Yes, sir, before I get into that, I have both of my chairmans, one from CRA, one from planning. They would like to give an update, as you usually request at the second meeting. If you wouldn't mind allowing them to do that before I go into this.
Please have them come to the microphone.
Thank you. Mr. Fuller, with our planning and zoning board.
Basically, just a brief update. The Planning and Zoning Board still has 2 vacancies on that board. I do want to say most of the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, are new members. But I do want to say that they're working very hard. They always come prepared to discuss the things on the agenda, and so we're excited about that. The last meeting, we elected Penny Boyer as the vice chair for the commission. In addition to that, we know that the Planning and Zoning Board doubles, or Planning and Zoning Commission, doubles as the Historic and Beautification Committee. And there's been a little bit of work on that. We've started with the Historic Plaque Program again, started working with it, and we want to recognize Laura Jones, the planning assistant, for assisting in getting that off the ground again. And we're looking to begin that Historic Plaque Program, primarily looking forward at potentially having a walking tour outline such that we can begin to recognize historical sites in Williston, first houses and then other places of interest like the water tower and the like. So those are things that we have upcoming. We also started looking for storytellers to tell about Williston in the past, because we want to bring forward many of the good things that have happened in Williston. And we're looking for storytellers, and I do want to say that there may be some, y'all being politicians of sorts, there may be some good storytellers among you, so.
Ellie, your name came up. Your name came up because you know a lot of history.
So, take a look at the flyer, and please make sure that you contact Laura if you'd like to participate in that as well.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. Thank you.
Did you have somebody else?
Yes, Nick Williams he's our CRA chairman.
I will give you an update on our last meeting. The board selected Walker Architects, which I understand designed the current City Hall. They were selected to do architectural work for what's designated as Block 12 across the street. That would include providing information on cost estimates for redesigning, rebuilding doors and windows, facades, the roof, pricing it individually as well as in combination. We also discussed and have a tentative estimate for pressure washing the facades of the buildings, and we'll probably have that finalized at the next meeting. I'll also mention that we have planters for which people can sponsor at $100 a planter for 2-year periods, which will be located along Heritage Park. We have 5 sponsors so far. We also have memorial benches. That's at $1,000 for 10 years. So far, we have 6 benches at Heritage Park. I think there are about 6 more benches that can be either used at Heritage Park or at other parks in the CRA district. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the memorial benches are $1,000 sponsorships for 10 years.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Block 12. Needless to say, we've been dealing with Block 12 for a long time, and I know that the CRA has also. When you say that we are getting these architectural ideas and you are getting pricing, have we made any progress with getting the permission of the people that actually own the building to do anything to it? Or are we just moving ahead in hopes that they'll say yes?
Contacts have been made with the property owners, but Jackie would be...
Then I will get Jackie.
Would be best to address that
All right,
question.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gorman, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. We've made preliminary contacts trying to keep our owners up to date with our initiatives and how we're trying to move forward. We have our architects now that we're getting ready to enter into the contract with so that we can get some numbers together. Once we get numbers and options, then we're going to pull them together in a meeting to have a discussion. We need to talk about things like if we did a membrane roof, which all agree to do an owners association and share the cost. If they feel like it's too expensive, we want to have other options available. That's just an example. This was the concept of the facade. If you all like that, would you be interested in moving forward? And we think this is what's going to cost to do the facade. And we want to be able to do a grant, 50-50 grant. We want to see where they stand on it. Once we have numbers, we can go to them with a dream, but they've heard that before. We want to go in there with numbers. And we want to really talk to them about, we have professionals here. This is what we've been working on. Talk to us about what you like and what you don't like. And somewhere along that discussion, we can come to some agreement, I think, on moving forward and improving that block. In addition, we know that that parking area is important to them. So we're right at the brink of being able to move forward. I just need these architects to help me with a couple small items out there. One is our SWIFMUT permit, and some underground issues that CJ and I have been talking about, that just making sure we understand going forward and that our bid is complete so that we can send it out and get ready to go. So to answer your question, so we've been pulling along as far as we can. I don't want to give them bad information. So we're at the point now where we can actually do something solid that will give them something to work with and to be able to give us some answers, and we can actually get a design and improvement program moving forward. So we're excited about that.
I'll yield the floor, and then I have further questions. Somebody else have some questions? Yes, Your Honor.
What's the cost for the contract for
We-
the architecture?
We just had CRA approve it, and we've sent the letters to everybody, so we have to make an appointment with Walker and come up with an agreement on the contract, so we'll take it back.
So you don't
To the
have any,
CRA.
you don't have any.
It'll be the
numbers
next
like-
meeting, we just did the RFQ, so we've got to do the contract next.
Okay.
Yes.
There was a time, and please feel free to correct me, that we had this wonderful poster out here in City Hall.
January, yes.
And we had all these great plans
Yes.
that were just truly fantastic.
Yes.
Is all that gone now?
No, we were ready to move on that. This was in January. In March, we were ready to get our RFQ out, and then COVID started. So we had to get through that, find our feet again, and get our RFQ out. So we had a couple months delay, but that's exactly the same track that we're on.
Okay, so when you said architects, you know, when I think of architect, I think of design.
No.
These architects are not redesigning the whole thing again.
Only if the people don't like what they have. I mean, we might tweak it a little bit, but
Okay.
it's all facade and windows and
Mhm.
doors and awnings and roof. So, but we really need their expertise. I'm not it. You walked the arcade with me. We know there's some structural issues on our stuff as well as the private property. But we have to get some numbers together and some financing options ready to help them with their half of their, if we do half, we might even change our grant at that point. But we have to make it something they can live with and get. I have one property owner that's asked for two things. How much is it gonna cost? And what's the return on my investment? And how long is it gonna take you to return on my investment? I wanna answer that, and I can't do it without them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You still have the floor. Is there anything else?
Not on CRA unless anybody else has any questions. Stay with us, we're moving. I just also wanna add the focus group is still going very well in trying to get out to the community and understand what they would like to see. And, I don't know if you realize this, comprehensive plan has a huge area of goals and objectives that talk about cultural arts and performing arts center. So, that's been discussed before. I was stumbled across that today. Anyway, no, sir, I don't, but I can go forward with liens if you'd like for me to do that. I just want to give you an update, based on the mayor's letter that we've kind of been tagging on with this whole foreclosure discussion. So what you have in your packet, I have dated 8/18, and you'll see exactly where we're at on every one of these cases. So I wanted to just let you know, there's a couple of them that Brett's our city attorney is working on, moving forward with our foreclosure, but there's some of them we have to close and start over again. So I don't know how detailed you want me to get in this, but you do have it in front of you, and I just want to make sure that I keep you advised as we move forward. The next thing that we have to do, and Mr. Copeland, you can stop me if I'm not understanding, but at our next Board of Adjustment meeting next week, we do have to get the code board to authorize us to move forward with these foreclosures, if I'm understanding that right. Yes.
That's correct.
So that's part of the process that we're trying to make sure we understand and do right the next time. We have to get them to tell us, and this is state statute that tells us this. So we've gone through and studied every file, made sure that we're doing everything right so we don't get a challenge.
And they're gonna be surprised about that, because they thought once it was done, they were through with it. So they're gonna be surprised when you come back with them. And all you gotta do is show them state statute and they'll see it.
Well,
Who is they?
The code enforcement, it's the code enforcement board. Don't forget now, we've split them into two boards.
Right.
Two distinct boards, and it's code enforcement that dictates this. So we're working with them and getting structured again, making sure we have the cases before them from the moment people are approached and a case number assigned until it's closed. And then we keep things rolling. I'm training, Nikki. She's our permit tech. See, we have all these boards now, I gotta delegate a bit. to stay and work with Wayne, and all of us can do it, just to make sure that we, all know what each other's doing and that we have streamlined our process. So I don't know if you want me to go through each one of these, but I, again, want you to be updated as we move forward with them on how we're doing it and where we're at.
My question is for the attorney. The ones that have been turned over to you, Mr. Coberline, how are they progressing?
The complaints are done. Simply going back to the need for the board of code enforcement to vote on them. We could not find the minutes of an actual vote, and so we did not want to go to court on that and have it sent back after expending. We cannot recover
So
those
that's
costs.
like the last step before we go forward?
That's correct, but all complaints are done. I've reviewed them. They simply need a date entered, and hopefully that date is August 24th. Some of the board members may be surprised, but they should be reminded they have to do that. A few years ago, we've been through at least 3 of these foreclosures, and so it should just be a reminder. And again, we did not feel that it was the correct thing to do was not to spend the taxpayers' money hoping that nobody would catch us. We'll just do the right thing and not have to do it twice and spend the taxpayers' money.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Poole?
No, sir, not from me.
Thank you for being so informative, and just, I'm not speaking for the rest of the council, but I don't want to know all those details.
It's nice to read them in your update.
Yes, I'd like to read them in the update,
In
I
the
just
update.
didn't want to take all the council time tonight.
So this is fine the way I present it to you, just keep it this
That's
way.
fine.
While I have you, may I ask you if and again, my council, or my board chairmans are welcome to come and report out, but would you rather just have the minutes in your packet every meeting from our boards to read, or do you still prefer them to come in and give a report?
That's an excellent question.
We used to get the minutes before.
Oh, you didn't?
We haven't got the minutes in a while.
No, when I was on council before, we received the minutes of those groups.
I don't have any particular feelings about it. I would say if they're comfortable presenting them, but it would be nice to get the minutes also.
Okay,
But
good.
if they would like to come and elaborate on anything, we would, I think, as a council, welcome
Well, I
that.
think the minutes are more detailed, and then they can come and highlight
Mhm.
for the public.
We all agree on that?
Yes.
We'll do it.
Councilor Ross, we agree on that? So we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you for giving us those options. Item B, discussion with possible action, code enforcement liens and foreclosures.
Sure, sure.
Vice President Head.
We haven't talked about this in a while, so I want to bring it up. I left the last meeting with some concern. We talked about doing a workshop on this code enforcement issue and all the foreclosures and all that's going on. But we're in the middle of budget and COVID and all these things, so we kind of elected to just push it out there sometime. I just want to bring it to the council's attention that I feel like in the midst of what we're doing right now, with all the ones that we have going on and some that were wrong and have to be corrected and all that, I think we need to discuss this and have this workshop sooner rather than later. Having talked with Mr. Copeland some about various ones of these, that I've got concern about some of these fines, and some of them are exorbitant. I don't know what the rule's gonna find on that if somebody argues it, but there's a lot of concern within some of these numbers. And I'd hate to go through, I know we've already been through a few foreclosures, and most of them have been on vacant lots and various things, and that's what these are, but if we're gonna come up with a plan in November or December with some options for possible, corrections or abatement or various things, I'd rather do that now, and give everybody the opportunity sooner rather than later to be a part of that. Point being, I'm looking at some of these examples, and if we've got a $43,000 fine on a piece of property that's appraised at, or tax assessed value is $18,000,
we're gonna talk in the workshop, I hope, about where should that cap have been on that fine? Should we have ever exceeded tax assessed value or some percentage of that? We're gonna hopefully talk about giving that property owner a chance to correct their property. Although they've had a chance every day, they've been getting charged $50, I do understand that. But a chance, especially in light of these large numbers, to correct that at some point with some forgiveness. Because although I know, I really don't want to go there tonight, we can do it in the workshop. I know the mayor and I don't necessarily agree, and others, about what these numbers really mean. I think we need to discuss these numbers, because if I take that example of an $18,000 value and a $43,000 fine, and we spend $5,000 on foreclosure, and then we get it back and we have to clean it up, we can't expect we're going to get $43,000 plus $48,000 back out of that property if it's truly only worth $15,000, $18,000, $20,000. So I just think we need to go ahead very soon and put some thought into how we want this process to go and what we want it to look like. Because we have properties now that we own that we have to get in our own compliance, and we have to dispose of them. So, you know, I think there was a lot of thought given early on about this process, and we talked about these fines just sit out there forever and we don't do anything. So that's when the foreclosure piece ramped back up. But I think we should have probably spent some more time talking about options. Ultimately, if we have to own them, we have to own them. But I think there needs to be a good process on how we get there and give the citizens an opportunity to correct it and get out of this and remain owners of their property. Ultimately, my goal is not to make money off of it and not to be a property owner for the city. It is to get the properties in compliance and move on down the road. That's what's fair to the citizens and the neighbors around them, and that's my feeling on it. So I'd like to see a workshop to address these issues as soon as possible, especially knowing that we've got a bunch that are either in process or actually, unfortunately, having to start over with the process.
I'd like to get the city manager interviews over with and then decide on workshop.
I agree with you. I'm not opposed to the workshop.
I want the workshop, but I'd like the city manager interviews to go.
The reason we walked away from it was because we have so much on our plate now. And I don't know, you know, I do anything that I can, but I don't know how we can do a workshop and these interviews and a budget.
I agree with that.
Simultaneously. I just don't know how it can be done. I don't know that this council has the capacity to do all that.
And I completely understand that, which brings me to the question that we almost got to last time we discussed this, which is the ones that are in the court system, they're there, they're moving forward. The ones that either have to be started over or they're not there, we have voted and we have directed staff to move forward with those. My question is, do we pause those in an attempt to come up with a great plan on how to handle them? Or do we just keep going and then change the rules later? Potentially. That's my question. I know we can't do it in the next few weeks, but I think we still need to do it as soon as we can. But if we're not going to do it, are we just going to keep doing what we're doing until we change it, or do we want to wait?
I think it would be better if we could do it now, if we could pause it, even if it only takes a few weeks to make our decision. We could give them, we talked about amnesty or abatement, whatever you want to call it, sending them a letter and telling them they have X number of weeks to even acknowledge that they had these fines and they were going to try to bring it into compliance. If they would even be willing to talk about that. Right now, we're not even hearing from these people. As far as I know, we're not even hearing from them. No.
And it may be a moot point. It may be that they don't come to the table and fix anything and nothing changes.
Yeah.
My point is, we're sitting in a budget workshop talking about we don't have the money to pay for the legal fees to go through our foreclosure processes to own properties. That's going to cost us more money to clean up once we get them. and hope we can fire sale them sometime if we can, you know, even move them at that point. So when we left the budget workshop, it just keeps clawing in my mind. I mean, we're spending money to do this, but later we're gonna come up with options to possibly avoid that. So that's what I wanna talk about.
Mrs. Gorman?
We have one, Carol Chico. She bought somebody sold her fee simple, and they put a trailer on it. That's the one we gave the permit. They're trying to come in and reconcile all of this now, but they're not sure they want to because they don't know what they're gonna be liable for with foreclosure. So that is the only one that I know of. So I just wanted to let you know that. The second thing is, instead of having a workshop right now, how about you let us bring you some options on different ways to handle this? Maybe we're not the first ones to do this, other cities have done it also. Let staff do this work for you and get it to you to review, and we'll do a presentation, see what you like or which process you want to go forward with. Or you can put it through our code board, let them do the work for you and make a recommendation. They're the ones that have to do this most of the time, but this policy, I understand, is important to you, but if you want us to go on and put it together and just bring you something to start with, at least start looking at, it's an option.
I would say that I've heard the Board of Adjustments and Code Enforcement say that they're not experts and they don't want to do it. I've heard them say that 3 times already, in this meeting as well as in their own. I also know we've spent money, we've spent legal fees already with the ones that Mr. Coberline has prepared, and it's just ready for them to go ahead and to say yes, so that we can go ahead and do. We probably ought to do those. The ones that we've already voted some money on. We've already got legal fees, we've already voted on it. We probably should go ahead with those and pause the others until we can figure out what to do. And I'm all about staff bringing us back some options.
I think we should go ahead with the ones that we voted on, and then regroup and have staff bring us plans.
I'm great with staff working on it because I don't want to undermine anything that code enforcement's trying to do. I mean, we have to support them, but the workshop would need to be everybody, I guess, anyway. So.
Well, even if we take their options and have a workshop.
That's fine, that part's good.
We'll start it for you, we'll bring you some good.
I just didn't want to be sitting here in January and we haven't talked about changing anything.
Understand? Sure.
Your Honor?
Where are we on Winn-Dixie?
Please, Winn-Dixie.
That's one of them, that's on our foreclosure list.
Are you praying, attorney?
That's on our list, Jeff.
What is the name on the list? Do you have it?
Richardson, like the second on the list or so.
According to the title work it's running, needs a date.
So the first thing we're doing is waiting for the meeting next week from code enforcement to tell us to move forward with foreclosures, and it's on the list.
Well, I know it's on the list, it's
It's
been
not
on the
before-
list.
No, it's on the foreclosure now list.
Fred's got it all ready, he
He's
just
got it ready.
needs to have.
Ready,
code.
okay, all right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Anybody, anything else from the council? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Joel Penny. I just want to make sure, before y'all go and wasting all y'all's money and doing all this legal stuff, can y'all do a little more research on the property? Because a lot of these properties that people don't, maintain and stuff, they go to tax deed auctions, and a lot of people go and buy the deed and get and submit, ends up receiving the deed. Like that last time y'all had that issue, I'm just making sure, is there a way that y'all can, do a little more research into that before
They
y'all
they still owe the lien though. If they buy it at tax auction, they still owe our lien.
yeah, that lien
Everywhere.
still due.
It doesn't go away. They should do some research before they buy it.
And what happens is after they do that and they have this property that they got for next to nothing, they come to us and ask us to forgive the lien.
That's what happens
And we have been through this a number of times, and we're trying to resolve that because it is an issue for us.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, before y'all go start putting liens on it, and before it starts building up, can't the Jackie or somebody do a little research on it and say, well, the taxes ain't been paid on here in a year and a half, and let's look back and see if someone hasn't bought the land taxes, because That's something I do, and I'm just saying, I do research on it.
Well, that's what Vice President Head was talking about, was
All right.
trying to get
Yes.
to the place where we don't have the outlandish liens placed
Right.
at a point that they're non-recoverable, and then suddenly the city is spending a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And so, Your Honor, did you have something else? Okay. So at this point, Vice President Head, do you agree what we're going to do is we're going to continue forward with the ones that are in the pipeline, but not start any more foreclosures until staff quickly gets us some recommendations?
It's the ones that are currently legally ready.
Yes, the ones that are ready, we voted on them, we talked about them, we discussed them, and I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of government taking people's property, but we have tried diligently to get these things into compliance.
And I agree with that statement, and I know the people that have let the fines go on for years, and they built to these numbers, they obviously don't care, they would have been in here talking to us anyways. I get that part of it. I just don't want to go down the path of spending money for somebody to come back and fight something that we've done, or that we change 2 months after we do something else. So, I know we have a right to change our policies and procedures, so we've discussed it, we voted on it to move forward. If the ones that are ready, I'm fine with that. The ones that aren't, I think we need to leave pause until we can get a good procedure.
I think we all have agreed that
Mr.
we're going to
Copeland
pause.
agreed that we're in an okay position on the ones that we've got.
You know, when this whole
He
thing
didn't say
started,
that.
when
He
this
didn't
whole
say
thing
that.
started, I did bring it up, that we're in the process of foreclosing on properties that are gonna cost us more than if we just ignored them. But we have a code, and if you don't enforce it, then suddenly you run into this compliance problem. If you don't enforce it once, you can't enforce it a second time.
I agree, you need a uniform procedure, and I also agree, and I said it way back then, if I'm the neighbor, it's all well and good that you got a $50,000 fine on that piece of property sitting next to my house that's 6 foot tall and drawn up, but at some point you have to enforce something on it.
Yeah, and I know, I don't know if, because time is difficult for me at times, but I can remember code enforcement coming to us and saying, you tell us to do all this, and then you never follow through.
Yeah.
And they were discouraged. They were trying to do the job that we had asked them to do, and then when they did the job, there was no enforcement. And that's how all this foreclosure stuff got started, was because we had to find a way to do some kind of enforcement. Otherwise, it's a toothless law.
I completely agree. I just think that if had there been a situation involved there where you could have said, we're gonna limit this fine at X, this triggers X.
And we should
it would
have
been a
that.
lot cleaner and easier.
I agree with you.
That's what we need to do.
We should have done it, but we didn't. So everyone is agreeing, we're going ahead with the ones we have, but we're not beginning any further foreclosures until you give us some recommendations. And along with those recommendations is what Vice President Head is talking about, is we need a clear understanding of when it is that enough is enough. Instead of waiting, until suddenly it's beyond hope. We just need a clear recommendation of when these processes need to start. And we will do our best to support code enforcement and try to get this process ironed out in a way that Vice President Head will be happy with. Okay?
Yes, sir.
We good? Does anybody else have any comments? Item C, discussion with possible action, an update on renegotiation of service agreement between the City of Williston and Waste Pro, Dana Miller, municipal marketer for Waste Pro. I do not see
They're
a.
both out there. I
Oh,
saw them earlier.
okay.
Yeah, they're there.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here in person this time.
Contrary to popular belief, we do not bite, Dana.
Thank you for clarifying that, Council President.
Don't get too close, though.
You're right. Exactly. Well, Council President, may I begin, or would you like
Please,
to speak?
the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'm here today with Tripp Lancaster, our Division Manager, per y'all's request to come back with another proposal based on, I'm sorry, I'm short, I forgot. Based on the last meeting. So we wanted to present that to you today. We were able to come back with, if you remember last time, we asked for a 3-year service agreement with 3% increase the first year, which was equivalent to 39 cents per house per month. And then we were asking for automatic CPI increase each of the following 2 years. So we were able to go back and work some things out. We are now coming to you to present, again, still a 3-year service agreement, a 2% increase the first year, which is 26 cents per house per month. And then instead of an automatic CPI increase, we would just like the opportunity to ask council each year for CPI, and then it's up to council to decide whether that would be permitted or not. But we would just like the opportunity to at least ask for that. And otherwise, all the other terms and conditions of the contract that we're currently running under month-to-month right now, as of August 1st, we are now month-to-month. As you know, we gave an extension. Last time I permitted an extension to October 31st, but all the other terms and conditions in that service agreement would apply.
I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Of course.
You know, we are constantly learning around here.
Very true.
I have recently learned that there was a substantial difference in the wording of the contract that we had with you in 2012, and that there were major changes in the 2017 contract wording. Are you aware of that?
No, because I wouldn't have been referring to the 2012. 2017 contract was drawn up by the city.
Yes, it was drawn up by the former city manager, and nobody on the council knew anything about the change in the terms.
Ah, okay.
And that is my question, is that, so this contract in 2017 with these significant changes was drawn up by our then current city manager, and Waste Pro looked at the terms of the 2017 contract and agreed to them. And nobody on our council had any idea that the contract language had been so substantially changed from 2012 when we were aware of what the contract said. So, terms of the contract become an issue for us, for me.
Question.
Yes.
Did the council not review it in 2017?
Did any member of this council see that contract?
I wasn't here.
I was here.
I mean, how do you do
Okay,
a
I
contract
was here.
renewal without
The
reading
city
it?
manager made the
Yeah,
contract.
I'm sure.
At that time, the council president, who is no longer here, signed the contract, and it was never discussed in the council.
It wasn't brought to a city
It
council?
was not brought to the city council.
No, because I looked for.
It wasn't brought,
Okay.
okay? And this is life as we know it. We call it COVID America.
No. I call it covert America.
Yeah.
Your city manager's
But
doing that.
that, I had no idea that the terms of the contract had been changed.
Mr. President, I was not aware
Well, they
that,
would've-
that had happened.
They
I
would have
mean,
been changed by
Mr. Ross.
the city, not the.
Do we have copies of each of those?
I asked that question today, and the person that I asked it of said, I do not have it before me, but we have copies of those two contracts. We just have
Side by side.
no member of the council has ever reviewed them. And here is your copies. So, we have some issues, more issues, you know, they keep surfacing.
it keeps it. I do want to state for the record,
Yeah.
however, that the contract was presented to us.
Yes.
It went to our regional vice president who reviewed it and signed it.
And
We were not aware that it didn't follow the proper procedures here at the city
And
level.
I'm not even in remotely suggesting that you should have been aware.
Which, if I may ask, what specifically was in the 2012 contract that
I'm
you
gonna
liked
turn it over
better?
to the mayor, who has done all this research and has far more knowledge about it than who frankly is who brought it to my attention.
And I haven't seen any of it.
Yes, I'm sorry, I just saw it today
Oh,
at a meeting
it's
that I
on my
was
council
at.
desk here, but I haven't seen it before now and haven't read it.
Okay, in 2012 and 2017, the contract states that glass would be picked up. And I know that you have presented to this council, when you came, that the county landfill was not recycling glass, and I understand that, and
Correct.
you did bring that. So that part should be omitted under the recycle thing.
Okay.
In the 2012 contract, under number 4, recyclable materials, it states, if non-recyclable materials are found, the contractor shall leave the material and tag it indicating why it was rejected. However, this was omitted to the 2017 contract, and I think that that should be put back in.
I don't know if it's in the contract, but they do that.
We still do that,
They do it.
but I agree that should be in the
They
contract.
didn't do it at my house.
They did it at mine.
Well,
They took
She's
stuff out and
nicer
left
than
it.
he is.
And it is in the contract.
I agree, it
You
should
mean
be in
last
the
time?
contract.
No,
You got two.
2012.
That's what I said last
Yeah.
time.
That's
Yeah,
not
but
a
it's
problem.
not in the 2017
But
contract,
they-
so it's unenforceable, is the mayor's point.
Okay, is it,
Even if they're kind enough to do it, it's not in the contract.
is it necessary?
Is it necessary?
Uh-huh.
I think so.
We don't have a problem putting that in a renewal contract. That's not a problem at all.
In my opinion, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
I agree.
Right.
But do you want them to tell you why they rejected it?
Absolutely
You
not.
want it now? That's what I said. So
That's a
so why
personal
is it
question.
important to put it
That's
in
a
there?
personal question, yes.
I agree with you.
Mr. Goodman,
You're, Mr. Colbert.
Mr. President, may we recess for about 2 to 5
Has
minutes?
it been 2 hours already?
Almost.
It may feel like it, but it has not.
Okay.
But
Yes,
I-
we can recess.
I'd like to discuss with the contractor, the 2017 contract.
It is 8:08. We will recess until
Until he
8.
says so.
No, we're going to set this recess. We will recess for 12 minutes to 8:20. Chief, you cannot leave. Yes, sir.